محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما وعملا وفقها في الدين يا رب العالمين وألحقنا بعبادك الصالحين. يقول الله عز وجل: إن الذين يأكلون أموال اليتامى ظلما إنما يأكلون في بطونهم نارا وسيصلون سعيرا. We started last week on the topic of the 70 major sins. These 70 sins, as I said last week, they are more or less agreed upon by all the scholars of Islam. They are considered major sins. Why? Because the Quran, for example, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala curses them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says if a person perpetrates this sin, then he's a criminal in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's going to get punished in the fire of Jahannam. Like those things. So anything which is severe, the ulama have listed them under the major sins. Now I told you there's a slight disagreement between scholars of what is a major sin and what is an actual minor sin. And Imam Ibn Hajar al-Haytami, he compiled an encyclopedia on this topic called Az-Zawajir. This book has approximately 467 major sins. Now, what he means by a major sin is every sin is a sin. Okay, every sin is a sin. So any sin which is in the Quran and Sunnah, any hadith indicating it to be a sin, any Quranic verse indicating it to be a sin, he included it inside his encyclopedic book called Az-Zawajir. But this book that we're studying from Imam, inshallah, that book we'll study in the future. I'm going to get hold of the kitab, inshallah. I've got it on PDF, but PDFs is not easy to. I love my books when it's in book form. Okay, I love it when it's in book form. Book form is the experience is totally different. Okay. PDF, you read so many things and you forget. Okay, that's not how a book is. When you go through it thoroughly, properly, studying it, then it's not easy to forget that easily. Inshallah, we'll carry on. So the first 7 we already went through. We gave a slight introduction. I'm not going to give any more introduction, inshallah. We'll continue, inshallah, today. So the next, number 8, number 8, Imam Al-Dhahabi. Of course, I'm not going through the whole book from cover to cover with all the evidences that Imam Dhahabi gave in his book with Quran and Sunnah. I'm only giving one ayah or one hadith for each and every single list that he's got of the 76. He mentions 76 major sins. It's called Al-Kaba'ir. We know it as 70 major sins, but it's the name of the book is The Major Sins. Okay, if you want to translate it in English. So number 8 is Aklu Malil Yatim, consuming the wealth of a yatim. Yatim is a person who, he doesn't have a mother, he doesn't have a father. He's left alone in this dunya as a child without a mother and a father. Like we see in Gaza, millions right now, hundreds of thousands of children are without their mothers and fathers. Okay, no one to provide for them, no one to maintain for them, no one to look after them, there's no one to be a guardian towards them. So, Innal ladhina ya'kulun, if their mother and father left some wealth for them, whether it's a house, whether it's a car, whether it's a big amount of money by you, and you are the one that consumes that money without a right, without you looking after them, then you will be under this grave warning of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that those who consume and eat the wealth of the yatama, of the yatims, of the orphans, verily they are eating fire inside their bellies. This is how severe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes this action of taking the wealth of the orphans. Taking the wealth of the orphans is a severe crime in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And anyone who does this, and this is very common. By the way, this is very, very, very common in Bangladesh. Father passes away, mother passes away, all the wealth the uncle takes away. This is extremely common. Okay? Here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, if a person does this, if an uncle does this, if a grandfather does this, if someone else does this, mama does this, whoever does this, then innama ya'kuluna fi butunihim nara. The thing that they are eating, the wealth that they are taking, that they usurped, that they took forcefully, this wealth is inside their bellies as fire of Jahannam. Okay? وَسَيَصْلَوْنَ سَعِيرًا, and in this dunya, this wealth will be like fire for them inside their bellies, and in the akhirah as well, they will be thrown into the fire of Jahannam. They will be entered into the fire of Jahannam. سَيَصْلَوْنَ سَعِيرًا. Sayaslawn. This word refers to roasting. You know how rotisserie chicken is? This is the word. This is the word that's used for rotisserie chicken. They will be roasting in Jahannam. This is the beauty of the Arabic language. Sa'ira refers to huge flames. Huge flames. Then we go into number 9. Al-kadhibu ala nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam. To lie upon Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam is again from the heinous crimes. Is from the major sins of Islam. To say that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said something which he didn't say, this will reserve your seat in Jahannam. Like Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam says that man yaqul alama lam aqul فَلْيَتَبَوَّأْ مَقْعَدَهُ مِنَ النَّارِ. There's other famous statements, and these statements is mutawatir. These statements, there's no doubt about this statement at all. Okay, there's so many narrations in different forms, but all of them have the same meaning, that whoever lies upon me something which I have not said, then let him reserve his seat in Jahannam. Of course, this is intentionally lying against all four. You can't lie for Rasulullah. Some of the Batiniya, some of the deviant groups in Islam, they used to believe that you can lie for Rasulullah. What does it mean by lying for Rasulullah? That you're not lying against him, you're not saying something which is contrary to religion, but something which is in line with religion, you can lie towards. This is like the Shias. This would be completely haram. Lying for Rasulullah or lying against Rasulullah is the same. Is the same, exactly the same. There's no difference. Lying is lying. The next sin we go on to is number 10. Iftaru Ramadan bila udhr wala rukhsah. Eating in Ramadan, eating or drinking in Ramadan, or cohabiting with your wife in Ramadan is a great major sin in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As a Muslim, it is fard upon every single individual to fast the month of Ramadan. 5 salahs, fasting month of Ramadan, giving 2.5% of your zakat, doing your hajj once in a lifetime. This is your basic minimum as a Muslim. Okay? If a person does not fast the month of Ramadan, he is extremely sinful and he's a major sinner, as we know here. On top of that, the only reason why he doesn't need to fast is if he's got a valid excuse. What is a valid excuse? Valid excuse is extreme illness. If he tries to fast and his doctor has said to him, look, if you try to fast, you're going to collapse. In that instance, he's not allowed to fast. Okay? He has to give fidya. He has to give fidya because he doesn't have any hope of recovery. If he's got hope of recovery, then inshallah in the future he can make qada. He can make the missed fasts up. Maybe because of a certain illness, because you went through an accident or something just before Ramadan. In Ramadan, you don't need to fast that month. If you're in severe coma or something, you can't fast. You're not in a state to fast. Okay, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not burden you upon something which you cannot do. Okay, la yukallifullahu nafsan illa wus'aha. But so let's say, for example, you had an accident and in Ramadan, there's no possibility of you fasting all the month. You were in hospital. There's no way that you could fast. Then afterwards, when you recover, then you'd have to make up those 30 fasts or 29 fasts. Okay, but if that wasn't the case, if it, for example, a person he's got severe diabetes, extremely severe diabetes. He's on insulin 3-4 times a day. Okay, he's injecting himself with insulin and he can't fast because of his valid excuse. Then in that case, of course, he has to give fidya because he doesn't have any hope of recovery. If he's got hope of recovery, then he can't give fidya. He can't give this money to the poor, to feed the poor, 60 poor people. So, قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم بني الإسلام على 5 شهادة أن لا إله إلا الله وأن محمدا عبده ورسوله وإقام الصلاة وإيتاء الزكاة وحج البيت وصوم رمضان. And went through these 5 pillars of Islam. رغم أنف رجل دخل عليه رمضان ثم انسلخ قبل أن يغفر له. Rasulullah صلى الله عليه وسلم says how loser of a person he is. Ramadan comes and he can't get himself forgiven from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is why Ramadan is our greatest bonus. Ramadan is our greatest bonus within our lifetimes. Next we go on to number 11. Al-firaru min az-zahf. A person, when he is engaged in battle with the enemy, For him to run away from the battlefield at the time when everything is intensified in battle, then this is a major crime in Islam, because you are deserting the Muslims at that time when they are in need of you at the most critical time. At the most critical time, you're deserting the Muslims. So this is why this is considered as one of the this is the greatest type of deception. This is like nifaq to the highest level. This is hypocrisy to the highest degree. That you go out with the Muslims to go and wage war with the non-Muslims, and then you retract. You run away from the battlefield. Okay? وَمَنْ يُوَلِّهِمْ يَوْمَئِذٍ دُبُرَهُ إِلَّا مُتَحَرِّفًا لِقِتَالٍ أَوْ مُتَحَيِّزًا إِلَى فِئَةٍ فَقَدْ بَاءَ بِغَضَبٍ مِّنَ اللَّهِ وَمَأْوَاهُ جَهَنَّمُ. If a person does this, then he has drawn the anger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the wrath of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala upon himself. And his abode is only Jahannam. Except for repentance, of course. The doors of repentance will never close. Okay? وَبِئْسَ الْمَصِيرُ. And how evil is that of a place of destination, Jahannam. Next we go on to number 12 is zina. Zina is a crime that breaks the whole society. Zina is a crime that breaks all of society. The fabric of society gets broken into, it gets shattered into pieces, just like a glass gets shattered. Okay? Why? It breaks mother, father, children, everything. It breaks literally the whole. It breaks everything in the whole society. For a person to abstain from zina, he will be more rewarded, and to abstain from sins in general, from major sins, he'll be more rewarded than for him to perform a fard. A person might think, oh, Sheikh, what are you saying? No, this is true. To abstain from sin is more harder than to do an action of good. A lot of people, they go into Hajj and Umrah every single year. They can do it. They can give sadaqah, 5,000, 10,000, 20,000. It's not a problem for them. They got the money. Okay? They got the health, they got the money, they can pray nafal after nafal, nafal after nafal. We can't pray it. Okay? Some people can do it. So to do good actions is good, is very good. But to abstain from evil is much. It's like cancer. I give you the example of cancer. What's better? For you to have £1 million in cancer, or for you to be healthy and no £1 million? Healthy. There you go. That's your answer. So for you to get the disease and then seek antibiotics to cure yourself is not a solution, right? It's not a solution. You have to prevent it. Preventing disease. How do you prevent? Preventing sins. Here, in this perspective, we're talking about preventing from sins. For you to accumulate sins and then to say, I'll ask for forgiveness, this is a double-edged sword. That antibiotics might work, that antibiotics might not work. The tawbah might work, the tawbah might not work. You understand? Huh? So don't put yourself into that situation and commit a sin like zina and then say Allah is forgiving. You don't know. Allah may not want to forgive you for whichever purpose. Yes, we say the doors of tawbah is open until a person's last breath, until the gharghara comes, okay, until the time of sakarat. But Allah may not. If Allah wishes, He doesn't need to. وَلَا تَقْرَبُوا الزِّنَا إِنَّهُ كَانَ فَاحِشًا. Do not go close. He doesn't say do not do zina. He says do not even go close. Anything which leads to zina is zina. Anything which leads to haram is haram. إِنَّهُ فَاحِشًا. Verily it is immoral. It is immoral. وَسَاءَ سَبِيلًا. And how evil is that path of zina. Because that path leads to many other paths. Just like Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam says, maybe it'll come here. Al-khamru jamma'ul ithm. That intoxicants are how would I explain this? It gathers all types of sins together in one. Because the moment you have alcohol, you can do zina, you could commit murder, you could do whatever inside the book, you could do whatever you feel like. Because you're not in your senses. Okay? So it's like the leader of all the sins. As if it's like the leader of all the sins. It's not the proper translation, of course. So here, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam says, on the authority of Abu Hurairah radiyallahu anhu says, that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam says, Al-aynani zinahuma an-nazar. The two eyes, the zina of the two eyes is looking at haram. Looking at haram is the zina of the eyes. Wal-udhunani zinahuma al-istima'. And the ears, the zina of the ears is listening to haram. Listening to music, listening to any sorts of haram. This is the zina of the ears. Your eyes will testify on the day of judgment. Your ears will testify on the day of judgment. وَاللِّسَانُ زِنَاهُ الْكَلَامُ. The tongue, it also does zina. Flirtatious speech, talking in a flirtatious manner with the opposite sex. This is called zina of the tongue. Zina of the tongue. وَالْيَدْ زِنَاهَا الْبَطْشِ. Touching. The hand, the zina of the hand is touching haram. Touching something which you are not allowed to touch. Okay? Girlfriend, boyfriend, haram. Absolutely haram in Islam. وَالرِّجْلُ زِنَاهَا الْخُطَى. And the feet, the zina of the feet is walking towards haram. Walking towards the casino. Walking towards buying a lottery ticket. Walking towards a club, a bar, any haram place, any haram thing. The zina of the feet. This is called the zina of the feet. We said zina of the hand is touching, typing. You might be typing haram things online. You might be swearing at other people. You might be cursing at other people. All this is haram. This is also zina. وَالْقَلْبُ يَهْوِي وَيَتَمَنَّى. And the heart desires and wishes. It wants. The desire kicks into the heart. And then وَيُصَدِّقُ ذَلِكَ الْفَرْجُ أَوْ يُكَذِّبُهُ. And أَوْ يَكْذِبُهُ. And the private parts eventually, they either give in or either they belie it, meaning they refuse to make zina, the actual zina. Okay? So these are all your avenues, your eyes. First you train your eyes to make zina, and then eventually you fall into zina. First you train your ears to fall into zina, and the zina of the ears is written, zina of the tongue is written, zina of the hands is written, zina of the feet is written, to the extent that a person goes and actually commits the action of zina. So all these you have to protect against zina. Zina is not just the action of zina. Okay? This is the major sin. Number 12. Number 13. Al-Imam al-Ghash li ra'iyatihi. Al-Zalim al-Jabbar. A leader who is controlling and dictating the laws of his country to a people, and he is oppressing them. Look at what's happening in Morocco. The situation is very bad right now, isn't it? They're burning the whole country down. Why? Because of the Zalim leader. Zalim leader, he's been there for so long, he's been oppressive towards his people for so long that people can't take it anymore. So they rebel. Now, is this rebelliousness correct? Of course. How long are you going to push a people upon your dhulm until they start rebelling? They will eventually rebel, and they will eventually topple you. Maybe not this time, maybe next time, maybe the time afterwards, but it will eventually happen. Okay? So an imam who leads the people in injustices, in dhulm, in oppression. إنما السبيل على الذين يظلمون الناس ويبغون في الأرض بغير الحق أولئك لهم عذاب أليم. Here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala promises them of a painful punishment of these leaders. عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال الظلم ظلمات يوم القيامة. Any type of oppression. Oppression is not just from the elite. Oppression can be within ourselves. Ourselves, what are we in charge of? We're in charge of our families, our kids, our family, our wife, our mother, our father. You committing oppression towards your children is an act of oppression. You committing an action of oppression towards because you're the leader of the house, isn't it? So you being unjust with your mother, unjust with your father, unjust with your children, unjust with your wife, unjust with your sisters, unjust with your brothers would be also considered dhulm, oppression. So al-dhulmu dhulumatun yawm al-qiyamah. Any type of oppression is going to be layers of darknesses on the day of judgment. And أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم بعث معاذا إلى اليمن. When Rasulullah صلى الله عليه وسلم, when he sent Mu'adh ibn Jabal, one of the muftis of the Sahaba, to Yemen, فقال اتقي دعوة المظلوم. Fear the call of the madhlum, the one who is oppressed, the victim. Fear the call of the victim that is oppressed. فَإِنَّهَا لَيْسَ بَيْنَهَا وَبَيْنَ اللَّهِ حِجَابٌ. For indeed there is no barrier, there is nothing between him and him making dua against you to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for it reaching Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala directly. There's nothing between you and him. So whether his du'as get accepted, look at the cries of the children of Gaza. Constant, non-stop, 2 years crying. You think this is not going to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Surely it is. It's just Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is waiting to seize them at the appropriate time. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not seize when you and me want him to seize. Fir'aun, he didn't seize him all his life. All of Fir'aun's life, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't seize him. He gave him the chance again and again and again and again. He kept the doors open. Now when he saw that, look, this guy has transgressed every limit in the world, and then he's made his nation transgress against all of Musa's people, then what did he do? Then he drowned him. To the point that his Islam and his Iman wasn't accepted. Isn't it? It wasn't accepted at the time of the death. Jibreel alayhi salam came and smashed a whole lump of soil inside his mouth. So, a person, his transgression is always, just like Inna Allah la yudhi'u ajra al-muhsinin, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not waste all the good deeds of the good people. Likewise, he won't just wipe out all the bad deeds of the bad people. Okay? Shurbul khamr. Next one is, number 14 is shurbul khamr, drinking alcohol, drinking intoxicants. Drinking intoxicants, as I said previously, that it is the sole leader of all sins, because the moment you drink alcohol, it leads you to all the other categories of sins. يا أيها الذين آمنوا إنما الخمر والميسر والأنصاب والأزلام رجس من عمل الشيطان. Verily it is rijs. It is impurity. It is haram. It is impure. From the actions of shaitan, from the works of shaitan. Shaitan only leads you astray with these things like gambling, like alcohol. That's the way a person goes into womanizing. Without alcohol, you'll see there's no clubs without alcohol. Why? Because the alcohol is the thing which leads them to womanizing, to committing harams. Number 15, we go into al-kibr wal-fakhr wal-khuyala wal-ujb. Kibr refers to arrogance. A person having arrogance to say that I am better than you. I am better than the other person. Fakhr khuyala is very similar. To be proud, to be ostentatious, all those meanings come together in the same meaning. A person who feels like he is more, although he has a status. Look, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, Sayyidul qawmi khadimuhum. Sayyidul qawmi khadimuhum. The leader of the nation is their khadim. He's supposed to be at their service. He's supposed to be at their khidmah. He's supposed to he's the one that's supposed to give them a service. Okay? Not the other way around. Okay? When you are in a point of position, you have responsibilities to fulfill. Just like a father. A father, he's got responsibilities to fulfill when it comes to his household. Likewise, when a person's in any position of authority, he has to fulfill his duties. If he doesn't fulfill those duties, then he would be considered as someone who's not fulfilling his duties. Now here we're talking about arrogance and pride. Arrogance and pride, any person that has mithqala dharra, even the weight of arrogance in mustard seed, meaning an atom's weight, small, something really, really, really small. Inside your heart of arrogance, Allah cannot enter you to Jannah. Why? Why is this so severe? Arrogance only belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Pride only belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah is the creator of the heavens and the earth and everything that is within the heavens and the earth. It's like you are fighting for position to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala hates arrogance so much, pride so much, ostentation so much. Here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says, لا يدخل الجنة من كان في قلبه مثقال ذرة من كبر. That a person who has even the atom weight of kibr inside his heart, pride and arrogance inside his heart, he will not enter Jannah. He will not enter. Especially, look, a lot of us are managers. A lot of us have other people under us, okay, that are working for us in our shops. To be arrogant for the sake that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made you the manager and not the other person, it can happen that one day the position is swapped over. That he becomes the manager and you become the employee. Then what? So to treat others in a bad way has consequences. Okay? Subhanallah. There's another hadith here that on the day of judgment, those who had arrogance and pride, they'll come on the day of judgment so small, like tiny, miniature, what do they call them? Minions. Minions, like minions, tiny minions. On the day of judgment, they will be resurrected like tiny minions. Why? Because in the dunya, they felt like, oh, I'm everything. I'm everything. I'm the mayor, I'm the this, I'm the that, I'm the chairman of the mosque, I'm the, everyone has these types of things. I'm the CEO of this company, I've invented this, I work in Tesla, stuff like that. People have so many different types of understandings in the world. So these people, and they have a special place in Jahannam. They have a special place called Bulas. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala destined a special place for these people that have pride in this dunya, that show their pride off in this dunya. And whoever does anything for other than Allah's sake, he will get disgraced on the day of judgment. He will get totally disgraced on the day of judgment. Okay? There's no point of doing it for other than Allah. Do as a Muslim, every single action that you do must be for the pleasure of Allah. Every single step that you take must be for the pleasure of Allah. You're taking your children to school for what? For them to have a good education. It's for the pleasure of Allah. It's for the pleasure of Allah. You're going to the shop Sainsbury's to go and get groceries for your children, for your family, for you. It's for what? For you to make ibadah. For you to be able to have the energy to wake up for Fajr. Isn't it? Huh? That's the purpose of a Muslim. Every single action that you do, think about it. Think about it before you do it, why you're doing it, and every single thing that you do in your whole life becomes ibadah. Becomes ibadah automatically. You don't need to worry about it. Everything becomes ibadah. Every single penny that you spend for your wife becomes ibadah. You might think, oh, £50 a meal is a lot. But even that can become ibadah. Okay? So, and we'll stop here, inshallah. The last one, to give false witness. When a person says, I've witnessed this action, meaning, for example, a person is told that he stole something, and you come and give false witness, you didn't witness this action. You say, yes, he did. And he ends up in prison, for example. He ends up in prison. You gave false witness. This is called false witness. Shahadatul zur in Arabic. Giving false witness is again a major crime in Islam, is a major sin in Islam. And because of you, this person, he had to bear the consequences. He went through loss, he went through a fine, he went to the court, he went through prison, he lost his family, so many other things. Colossal effect. You caused his reputation to go down the drain. Okay? So, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said that stay away from these three major sins. What are these three major sins? First one was al-ishraku billah, to make shirk with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Uququl walidain, to be disobedient to your parents. And the third one he said, wa shahadatu zur aw qawlu zur, and to bear testimony to like you giving false witness to something that you weren't there. Okay? And then he continued to repeat it and repeat it and repeat it until he stood up from his place. Rasulullah was sitting down, lying down. When he said this, he stood up and he continued to repeat it and repeat it to the extent that Sahabas got scared. Allah wa shahadat az-zur, Allah wa shahadat az-zur, Allah wa shahadat az-zur. That I warn you to give false testimony. I warn you towards giving false testimony. Never lie when giving testimony, because this will affect the life of another person. And affecting the life of another person has more severe consequences than you affecting yourself. For example, you didn't pray one salah, because this is affecting yourself. But when you affect someone else in his dignity, in his honor, this is something extremely severe, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not forgive until that person comes and forgives you. Do you understand? This is much more severe than just not doing one good action. We'll end inshallah here on number 16. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika.